Hello, Pony. It's Lotus Moon. Gosh, it's been so long since I last recorded a chapter for this story. Honestly, I don't really remember what happened last time. The most I remember is that Callus apparently has died, and the team is mourning her potential death. I do still have hope that she does come back, though it might be a long shot. But anyway, no time to waste. It's time for the next chapter to Fireteam Odium, and I do hope you enjoy it. Fireteam Odium, written by H. Reynolds the Last. Chapter 20, A Plan in Motion. Did you just say Warmind? Exodus asks, his mind reeling. Yes, are you not from HQ? Elizabeth asked in response. I think the HQ you knew is long gone. Or I could say that there hasn't been a working Warmind HQ in 700 years. The ones that are left are barely functional, and the most repaired one we have seen is Rasputin. Rasputin? He is still active, isn't he? She asked, apparently ignoring everything else the warlock had said. Yes, very much so. Do you know him? I knew him a long time ago. We would talk sometimes. He was rather nice to Churchill and I. Well, things have changed since you last knew him. The AI went silent at that, though the comm link stayed active. Exodus waited patiently until she spoke once more. Are you able to see me? I would like to be able to bring Churchill online, and I need help to do it. We have no idea where you are. Are you able to give us a beacon? Oh, yes. Give me a moment. After a few seconds, Exodus's ghost turned and spoke. I have an old Golden Age beacon ready 50 meters below us. The bunker seems to have been buried over time by the surrounding dirt. Elizabeth, we are unable to reach you. Do you have any way of clearing the dirt above you? Exodus questioned. No. My creators didn't build any method of removing debris from the top of the bunker. Do you not have any way down to me? Exodus thought for a moment. The situation with the Cabal required as many soldiers as possible, but having a Warmind on their side would turn the tide of the war instantly. I need to speak with my team and maybe get some help from the ponies in the town. Regardless, we'll get down to you as quickly as possible. But just so you know, there is a huge enemy force on this planet we are currently fighting. If you need to broadcast to us, do it on the 3rd Warmind frequency and broadcast it as powerfully as you can. If we hear you, we will respond. I understand, Elizabeth said. Please hurry. There are multiple problems within the bunker that I cannot fix alone. We'll get to you as fast as we can. Just hold on. He didn't wait for her to reply. Instead, he summoned his sparrow and took off in the direction of Silesium, his ghost waypointing his way there. Let's hope this goes better than our more recent endeavors, he thought to himself as the green hills flew past him. Chrome walked slowly through the town, taking in the sights once more. The town was once a place of joy for him. Being able to see his cousin and play with her when they were foals, now it was a place he dreaded. The ponies around him walked with their heads down, their eyes darting around in fear of their home also coming under attack. A few of them took flight as soon as they saw the armored unicorn walking towards them. But he ignored them. He tried his best to keep up appearances for his comrades, but after the last fight, he was beginning to break down. He needed to talk with someone, and there was only one pony in Salacium that could help him with that. He arrived at his cousin's home, knocking quietly on the door. It opened to a pink mare, one Chrome couldn't be happier to see. "Chrome?" she said, not entirely sure of the pony below the white armor. "Hey, Cross. Could I come in?" he replied, receiving a nod. The door opened fully to allow him in, and as soon as he stepped in, he took off his helmet and looked over at the mirror, quiet tears welling in his eyes. "Chrome, what's wrong?" Cross asked, immediately concerned for her cousin. I can't keep this going. I just can't." "Did you hear what happened in Canterlot?" Chrome asked, silently hoping she had, the tears beginning to flow. "No, I was too focused on my work. I did hear that there were thousands of ponies around the town, but they are returning as soon as the issues are dealt with in Canterlot. So I didn't really have any reason to look into it further." "Canterlot is gone, Cross." She looked at him in horror. "Gone? As in destroyed?" He managed to nod, barely able to focus on her eyes with tears blurring his eyes. "Any pony that didn't evac is dead. None of the city survived." What of the Guardians? I thought they would have stopped the attack." "They were more focused on getting as many ponies out as possible. I saw when we were taking off. We left so many behind." Cross stared at him in shock, processing what had been said to her. As her mind returned to reality, she jumped forward and hugged him. "Oh, Chrome, it must have been horrible to deal with." "It has been. I managed to keep my emotions at bay while I was there, for the sake of the others. But this? I've never been in a war of this magnitude. I don't know if I can go on." She stepped back and gave him a determined look, one that he had only seen a few times. "You can and you will. We need you, Chrome." He dried his eyes with an armored wrist and looked her over for a few seconds, waiting to see if she would say anything else. When nothing else was spoken, he sighed. "Thanks, Cross. Would it be okay if I crashed here for the night?" "You're always welcomed here. Take one of the guest bedrooms upstairs and get some sleep. From the sounds of things, you've earned it." He gave her a thankful hug and trotted up the stairs, throwing himself out of his armor and into the bed that lay in a spare room. Sleep came quickly as he closed his eyes, welcoming the dark embrace of unconsciousness. "I don't understand how we can continue," Procor started, standing with the others at the planning table. It had been a few hours since they had all come back to the town, though Exodus was still away. "We've lost the capital, and I doubt the Cabal will stop there. How do you stop a fleet of carriers with just us? Our only hope right now is to slow them. Hopefully kill enough of them to force them back," Curvis explained, Lemon by his side. how many have we killed overall? A few thousand at most. They have millions, Curvis. Not even Odium can handle that many. Then we die trying. The room fell into silence at the Titan's blunt response, none of them knowing how to continue the conversation. The silence was broken by a familiar voice. Team, I may have a solution, Exodus said, walking over to the table. Where have you been? Curvis asked, looking up at the warlock. I just found out there is a Warmind bunker on this planet. What? A Warmind? Here? Procor asked, a look of disbelief on his face. I don't know how or why there's one here, but there is. It's been deactivated since the collapse, so chances are it still works. Well, where is it? Why didn't you contact us? Curvis questioned. That's the problem. It's under a hill and will require evacuating in order to reach. Wait, no. And will require excavating in order to reach. But if we bought that Warmind online, we could slaughter the Cabal without issue. Then what's the plan? The Cabal aren't going to sit back while we do this, Procor said. What we need to do is continue like nothing is happening. By some miracle, they haven't noticed the Warmind in orbit, nor have they detected the distress beacon from the bunker. We should keep fighting them where we can and send ponies to begin digging down towards the Warmind. If all goes well, the Cabal won't even know what hit them. Curvis nodded in understanding. Alright, so where will the Cabal strike next? It's clear that they are going for cities with a huge unicorn population. Lemon started. I think the next city would be the Crystal Empire. They have a lot of magic there, so it would make sense for them to attack it if they were looking for ways to get magic. I see. That's not all that far from us. The ship should make it there in under an hour. Who are the leaders of the Empire? Curvis asked, looking down at the map sprawled across the table. Princess Cadence and Prince Shining Armor. The prince is related to one of the princesses here. Perhaps it would be a good idea to take her with us then. I'm not sure how much they might know about the war, Exodus commented. That's fair. And maybe one of us should go. It probably wouldn't make a good first impression if 5 heavily armored guardians showed up at their doorstep, Procor surmised, standing straight. I'll head over there, and I'll grab this princess before I leave, Exodus said. If anything happens while I'm gone, be sure to notify me. You'll be the first we call. Exodus turned and walked away out towards the tents that surrounded the town. As he walked away, the remaining guardians turned back to the table. So, how many ponies do you think we'll need? Curvis queried. Procor glanced out at the tents and the thousands of ponies wandering around them. I don't think we need to worry about that. Twilight was laying in her tent, staring down at a book. She wasn't actually reading, but she needed something for her eyes to rest on while she tried to sort the jumbled mess her mind had fallen into. In no records had a single attack been this destructive. Even Tira kept his attacks reasonably isolated. And anything he destroyed was, well, rebuilt. But these monsters decimated not one, but 2 major cities in under a week. And it didn't look like they were stopping there. Princess, is this your tent or am I mistaken? A male voice called out, bringing her attention up to the entrance. Outside, the being was creating a shadow on the front of her tent, one she recognized a little too well at this point. She got up and walked over, pulling back the folds of the entrance a little to look at her visitor. The same black and blue guardian that warned them about the attack stood there, looking down at her. "Hello, Your Majesty. I need to speak with you about something important," he said, not noticing the cringe she gave at the title. "Can it wait?" she responded, not really wanting to speak with anyone. "I wish it could. But we have reason to believe the Crystal Empire is the next target for the Cabal. I was told you were related to the prince there?" Her head jerked back up to the Guardian. Why would they attack the Empire? The unicorn population there isn't all that high." "According to a friend, there's a high level of magic there. If that is true, then they are certainly a target. I was hoping you could come with me and speak with them." "If it means protecting my brother, I'll do it. How are we going to get over there?" "Well, the train is much too slow and I don't want to tire you by asking to teleport, which means my ship is the only viable option." She gave a sigh at that. She really didn't like the craft the Guardians used, but he was correct when he said it would tire her to teleport them, and a train could take hours that they could not afford. "How much faster will your craft be?" she asked. "We should reach the Empire in under 20 minutes, providing the weather holds." Her mind almost reeled at the realization of how fast something would have to be to make that distance so quickly. But she managed to hold it together. "And how soon can we be there?" "As soon as you're ready, Princess. The ship is already prepared for the trip." She steeled herself and nodded. "Let's go then. I don't want to waste any time if Cadence and Shining are in trouble." The Guardian's companion appeared at his shoulder as Twilight finished talking, turning to face the Warlock. "The ship is on its way. Do you want it to come down above the tents?" "Yeah. Switch the engines to low power and keep it as far up as you are able to. As soon as it's in range, teleport us up," the Guardian said. High above, a small blue dot could be made out, flying at an immense speed towards the ground. Before it got too close, 3 wings that stuck out of it opened, and it slowed to an almost complete stop, raising its nose to point in the direction of the Crystal Empire. Before Twilight could speak, the surroundings changed to that of the interior of the ship. She was used to being teleported, but the magic the Guardians used felt odd. She brushed it off, however, switching her mind to the priority issue. "Ghost, let's get moving. Don't go full transit as we don't know what the weather is like in that area." "Got it," the little machine replied, moving over to a few shining monitors. As she settled, she felt the ship lurch forward, the scenery flashing by them on the monitors near the pilot seat. The Guardian quickly jumped onto the said seat and began pressing buttons on the console before him. The ship responded to his input with a whirl. "Exodus, why are you arming the missiles?" his ghost asked. "The last time we were forced to fly at this speed, we were attacked. I don't want to make the same mistake again unprepared," Exodus explained, focusing on the images in front of him. The ghost stayed quiet after that, flying the ship with a bit more ease. Twilight, on the other hand, was barely able to keep her mind at bay. Not only were they flying at breakneck speeds to save her brother and sister-in-law, but they could also be attacked at any point. The thought of facing those monsters sent a shiver through her spine, as she stared at the metal floor. "Princess?" She looked up to see the Guardian's companion hovering near her, a single eye looking over her closely. "Are you all right? You seem distressed."
I I'm fine, thank you,"
she said, flinching back slightly at the sudden proximity to the machine. "If you would like someone to talk to, I'm almost available," the ghost said, hovering away from her to give her room.
"I'll keep that in mind."
She wasn't normally this dismissive, especially when a situation could allow her to make a new friend. But the situation was causing her mind to behave differently. The sheer fact she hadn't broken down already shocked her more than anything. For the rest of the flight, the only thing that could be heard was the mechanical sounds of the ship around them. The Guardian and his ghost paid no more attention to Twilight as they worked on making sure the ship wasn't being followed. She was starting to drift off when Exodus spoke up. "I think we're here. Is this the place, Princess?" Twilight stood up and walked over, looking at the screen that displayed the outside world. In front of the ship, a towering castle stood at the center point of an expansive city. The entire place glistened in the light of the sun as the sun shone down upon it.
"Yes, this is it. When we get down there, I think it might be better if you let me do most of the talking,"
Twilight said, standing back. "Agreed. I'll take us down there now." The craft began its ascent in response to the warlock's input, the ground rising up to them rapidly. As they drew closer, they could see masses of ponies running in fear, the guards arming themselves and standing at attention around the castle. "This should be interesting," Exodus said, slowing the ship above the guards near the castle.
"If you let me talk first, it should be fine,"
Twilight replied, looking over the mass of ponies for any signs of Shining. When he couldn't be found, she frowned and looked up at the warlock.
"We should get down there."
"No arguments for me. Ghost?" The scenery around them changed once more. This time, two guards surrounding them, their spears pointed at the trio. "Princess Twilight?" one of them exclaimed, raising his spear to point upward.
"Please, lower your weapons. I need to speak with my brother,"
Twilight said, her hoof raised. The guards followed her orders without hesitation, dispersing to allow her passage to the castle. She galloped towards the entrance, the guardian struggling a little to keep up. They ascended some stairs before arriving in a large throne room, 2 seats built into the wall on the other side of the room. On those seats, 2 ponies sat. 2 that Twilight recognized easily.
"Shining armor! Cadence!"
she cried, running across the hall towards them. Exodus opted to walk over, giving them time to speak with one another in peace. He had stowed his talak on his back before being teleported, not expecting to use it, but finding security in knowing that, well, it was there.
"Twilight, what are you doing here?"
Cadence asked, standing up and hugging her.
"We came to warn you. The Guardians, well, they think that the Empire is the next target for their assault,"
Twilight said, returning the hug. "They're still going? I thought they would have been stopped," Shining muttered, looking curiously over at the warlock.
"Canterlot was destroyed, and the Crystal Empire will be if we don't do something."
Shining stared at her in shock. "And Mom and Dad?"
"They got out. I made sure of it. They're at a camp around Silesium."
A look of relief adorned his face as he exhaled. "So, what do you think we should do? And who is this?" Twilight looked behind her at the Guardian. He had stopped a respectable distance from them to wait for his name to be called. He stood at attention when Shining looked at him.
"This is Exodus, one of the Guardians that has been fighting to protect us."
Twilight said, introducing them. The warlock gave a nod, his hands behind his back. He could easily tell these ponies were high-ranking, and if they held the same ranking as the two sisters from Canterlot, they were definitely ponies he didn't want to mess with. Cadence walked over to the Exo, looking at his faceplate. I assume you are here to help protect my empire. My team and I will do our best, our absolute best. We have time to set up for this attack, so we will be more prepared than we were during the Canterlot assault. Exodus said, his hand still behind him. I see. And you can guarantee the safety of the ponies within my city? I cannot, Exodus started. We will do what we can to keep your ponies and your city as safe as possible, but we are up against a force far larger than anything we have ever faced. The best we can promise is that we will hold them off long enough for your ponies to evacuate. I guess that's the best I can hope for. Thank you, Cadence said, returning to her throne. So what will you need in order to defend our city? All of our resources and armies are available for you to use. To begin with, we'll need any and all metal you and your ponies can spare. It doesn't matter what sort of metal it is, just as long as it is of a reasonable quality, Exodus said. That can be done. Anything else? We will also be moving as many war mages as possible over here to assist in defense. They will need temporary housing if they are to stay here until the attack. Easy enough. I will issue an order to the guards to alert the ponies and request all of our scrap metal from the storeroom is brought to the courtyard below the castle. We can make some tents for the mages to stay in while you prepare for the attack, Cadence said, to make sure she understood everything. That should be everything. We can handle it from there. Thank you for cooperating with us. It will help greatly. And thank you for aiding us in our time of need. If we can be of assistance to you or your team, you need only ask, the pink alicorn said with a smile. Exodus gave a final nod and turned, walking out of the room. When he was gone, Twilight turned back to her brother and sister. Are you sure we can pull this off? With the guardians and the war mages helping us, alongside 3 princesses and the city guards, I think we are at least at a fighting chance. We just have to hope that things go better than Canterlot, Cadence said, looking down at Twilight. I hope you're right, because if you aren't, I think we may be in more trouble than we can handle. Primus Veil chuckled as he walked through the prison block on board his carrier. Each cell had a unicorn stowed in it, some crying in their language, some yelling and slamming the bars. Just a few more weeks, and we will have what we need to get home, he thought to himself, looking down at a young unicorn. It was huddled in the corner, watching the cabal with tear-filled eyes. My Primus? A cabal colossal called out, catching up to his leader. Yes, soldier, he replied, turning to face him. I wish to speak with you, if that is all right. Of course. Speak your mind. I'm listening. The Colossus took a long breath before sighing and looking up at Veil. Forgive me, but is what we are doing right? What do you mean? These animals, they've done nothing to us. I'm sure I'm not the first soldier to talk with you about this, but I can't help but feel that what we are doing is morally wrong. And though I try to see the glory in conquering them, I find I cannot. The primus gave his words some thought before he spoke. Soldier, do you wish to see your family again? Of course, my primus. As does everyone else on this fleet. We are doing what we need in order to ensure our return home. Do you think the Empire would be happy with us for leaving this planet and trying to return home? I understand that, sir, but surely even they can see that killing off a race of animals is something even we Cabal don't do. This is something humans would do. If we must lower ourselves to their level for the sake of our mission, so be it. Is there anything else you wish to speak with me about? The Colossus flinched a little at his leader's response, but stood tall regardless. Yes. The pilots would like to know what zone we are moving to next. The primus thought for a moment. I will need to look at the map again, but tell the pilots be ready to move out as soon as we have restocked. We will begin our next attack. The Colossus bowed and left the room, off towards the bridge. When he left, the primus turned once more to the young unicorn. It had started crying during the conversation, looking at him in pure fear. For a brief moment, he felt sympathy for the poor thing, but it was quickly stamped out by the task he knew he had to follow through with. No time for sympathy in this job, he thought to himself, leaving the room and making his way towards the navigation room. In orbit above the planet, Warmind Churchill 3HRL is online. System booting. System boot complete. Detecting faults in 63 systems. Combat efficiency lowered by 23%. Feeding diagnosis data to bunker. Diagnosis received. Scanning for warsats. Three warsat faults detected. Moving remaining 197 to recover operational area. Operational area recovered. Feeding warsat relocation data to bunker. All requested data sent. Cycling weapons. Weapon cycle complete. All primary weapons are fully functional. Frame combat support is 27% damaged but available. Bringing background systems online. Background systems online. Switching modes. Executing reactivation. It feels good to be back online. Elizabeth, are you there? Churchill asked. Yes, I'm here. I trust you are well, Elizabeth replied. Some minor faults, but I should be okay. Any reason for you bringing me back online? There is. There has been a situation. And this has been Chapter 20 to Fireteam Odium, written by Atranos the Last. I do apologize for taking so long to release this latest chapter, Every Pony, and I do apologize for any mistakes I made. It's just been a busy time for me lately, so I can't say when I'll release the next chapter, but I do hope to not take so long next time to release it. I do hope you enjoyed this Every Pony, and look forward to more of my readings. I am Lotus Moon, and I want to wish you all a good morning, afternoon, evening, or night wherever you are, Every Pony. Good night.